blood pressure. So it all depends. So it depends on, a number of factors. So the liver function test. So there's lots of blood tests run. So it will depend on whether they'll give them magnesium sulfate. So, but it all depends on, so each consultant likes to, the hospital has got a policy. And this policy is governed by the National Institute of Clinical Excellence. So it's a guidance that we have. So all of it is based on research, really.
So did the woman that died from Charlottesville, did she need magnesium?
I am not sure what they gave her. I am not, because her sister was unable to obtain the records. Her sister passed from cancer earlier this year, or I think last year. So she was in the process of seeking answers, and she went to the then health secretary, and she was seeking support, and she didn't receive any.
What I'm asking you, as a professional and qualified as you are, thank God, do you think that patient needed magnesium?
She possibly did. She may have done. I don't know the circumstances.
No, I want to know from you, from your clinical training and your know-how. Did that patient
most definitely. Yes, most definitely.
What you have to say? Any other midwife here that we can get another point of view?
My point about the midwifery bit is not that the midwife knows more, but the doctor spends a short time with the patient, and sometimes, because as the midwife or you do the antenatal clinic and you have seen this lady antenatally and early in the pregnancy, you would be able to tell whether she's progressing or whether she's regressing, whether she's developing something as a cause of concern. It's not that you know more than the doctor.
I went through a terrible birthing in Scarborough General Hospital with my son. The name of my midwife was Nurse Bruce. But thank God, the message went down to Dr. Frontilera that came in running and took my baby up from that basket that they throw him in and throw a piece of green cloth over him. And that doctor is the one that did something with my baby. And I hear, they told me that my baby is already gone, Pantine. Your baby is already gone. We have to save you. We have to keep you quiet and get that placenta out that was coming out in pieces.
Ooh.
My witness there was Gloria Moore from Charlottesville. You hear me? Gloria was there. And is she who telling Dr. Bruce, Pantine is not lying. The baby is coming. They gave me an injection and tell me, take a rest. My baby is so much centimeters away. Listen to me. You remember, I didn't make my daughter in the hospital. So the first time I heard about centimeters and centimeters is when I was having my son, because I was making him clinically in the hospital. I had my daughter by matron Atancia Stewart. I didn't hear about no centimeter. When she pushed in her finger and it come back out, she was show me how fast her finger could reach. And then she started to pray and talk, saying, but I don't know why this baby not coming. The baby right here
was fat.
I wasn't fat then. I was more skinny than anybody.
The baby, how big was the baby?
The baby was fat, yes, but you don't dictate for matron. I know what she tell me, and I know how the baby comes.
She's too bright.
Yes. So what I am saying, sometimes we can't speak certain way to undermine the trust of people and doctors. No, we have to be careful.
Yeah.
We can't talk in a way to let patients believe that the doctor and the men know nothing. I know more than them. Because there are certain time in childbirth when nothing can be done but a doctor's interjection. Am I lying or am I speaking the truth?
It's true. It's so true.
You have a point.
That's true. It's teamwork. It's teamwork. We have to work as a team.
It's teamwork.
Teamwork.
That's right.
And I think when I went to do the training, that's one of the things that was highlighted. We are a team. When there's
Exactly.
an emergency, everybody has a part to play.
All hands
That's
on
right.
it.
So it's so important. And I think for Tobago, what I will say, I mean, I was speaking to my cousin Mary last night. We talked about brain drain. And, you know, my children are getting old, and I was thinking, you know what? I was going to go to Qatar to work. And I'm thinking, you know, these are oil-rich countries, and they are draining places like the UK, wherever they could find the expertise to come to their country. And when we as professionals want to go home, people says, well, them train abroad, what do they think they're playing? You know, but it is so important that if we don't have the expertise, let's import it. Import it and train what you've got. There's no shame in that. The richest countries in the world are doing it. America has been doing it for years. The UK has
England,
been doing it for years. The
Qatar.
Middle East has been doing it for years. We have got
Saudi
money.
Arabia.
We are an oil-rich country. So we should be taking that money and using it to develop our country. We could be building hospitals, you know, specialist hospitals where other people from the Caribbean are accessing our health services, and we are bringing money into our economy. We should not only be relying on oil. One day the oil might crash. One day the gas might crash.
Don't crash
And
already.
COVID has come.
I know,
and
she's
the
coming
tourism
now.
has crashed. So Tobago is on its knees because we are now, Trinidad is forever telling us we can't look after ourselves. And the little bit that we had from tourism, it's no more because COVID has put a stop to that. So we have to now start thinking outside the box. We have got, you know, our representative in Tobago.
This is where she coming
to Parliament, and you know what? I during the election campaign, I'm hearing for the people, by the people. But are you listening to the people? This is what the people of Tobago, we are tired of going down to Trinidad. You know, every time something happens, there's a premature baby, you have to fly your baby out of Trinidad. We talk about attachment. We talk about, you know, for weeks, you're away from your baby. You haven't bonded with your baby. So we place a lot of focus on that. There's the first 1,001 days of a child's life is so important. It begins in utero. It's about positive attachment. You know, when you come out and you see children and they haven't got that relationship with the parents, is that separation that nobody deals with. Nobody deals with the emotional, you know, part of, you know, separation in terms of, you know, when even the elderly, you go down to Trinidad, you're in a strange place, you may not have family down there, you're flying backward and forward. We as Tobagonians, especially us in the diaspora, we have to work harder. And I hope that the people on this live will share it and they're listening because we're very passionate. I hope that, you know, Mr. Orville London is here. He'll be listening to us because we are a force to be reckoned with. They said, united we stand, divided we fall. Together we aspire, together we achieve. We want to do something for Tobago. Charity begins at home. This is where it starts.
Well, I don't know who told you to go there, but this is where your sister is coming in now. So let's hear from Joan.
Well, what more can I say? I think she's explained it really fully and encompassed what I think all of us want to see. What I would want to add to that is that Mr.
Joan, your question is on the screen. 1 minute. Nurses of this of the panel, many nurses within the public health system in TNT express frustration over lack of resource and infrastructure to hire them, or allow them to safely execute their jobs. Thoughts?
Well, I think again it comes back to proper healthcare. Our health system needs to be developed, right? In order to help them to do their jobs well, you have to train, you have to have the right equipment, you have to have adequate knowledge and education. Well, that comes in with training, so that they can execute the job safely. So, for example, if you have a midwife who's involved in bringing a child into the world, something happening with that child, and know, that she doesn't know, she hasn't assessed that child to prevent what we see happening quite regularly, where a child has been born and then suddenly the child is taken away from the mother, and then you come back a few hours later to say that child has died. So we're talking about the adequate education to allow them to spot what is going wrong with the baby when the baby is born, right? You also want to have the necessary equipment to allow them to do the job properly. So that's where that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say on that.
No, that's not much you're gonna say. I have a question for you. You had your personal experience with fetal loss. Not fetal. Your baby was born.
Stillbirth. No.
Your baby was born and lived. Not
Neonatal
stillbirth. Yes, it wasn't
Neonatal
stillbirth
death.
either. So you had a personal experience.
Mhm. Yes, I did.
Did they tell you what your baby died from? Were you explained? What happened when you
Okay,
lost your
so
child?
I had the child in Tobago, and then she was flown to Trinidad, and then I was there. On the 5th day, they decided that they were going to do surgery. So what they did the surgery, the next day, a group of doctors took me into their office area, and then they were saying what they saw was they saw that part of her intestines was very undeveloped. It was very narrow in so many places. So I never really got a name for what the condition was, and I wanted to know. So I went searching and looking. So I don't know if I ever found the right thing to find out what had happened. You know, so no, not really. I didn't. And
so you became a nurse. You became a nurse. You became a nurse after in England. And
yes.
did you talk to any doctor and explain what happened to you in Trinidad?
Probably not really, but then I worked on a surgical ward, right? Where I work doing general surgery, bowel surgery. So I think my understanding of what happened there is that what they had done was they did surgery, right? They cut out as much as they could from the intestines, and then they stitched her back. And then obviously she would have been put on IV fluids and things like that. But then if you're having an obstruction, because exactly what was happening, she was just passing the bile through her mouth and nose and not passing any stool, right? So when you have an obstruction, you don't cut out and stitch up. You form a stoma through the stomach wall and you attach a stoma bag. And a baby could have had that as well. And I saw that throughout my career working in general surgery. You see a lot of that. I didn't work with neonatals, but with young
neonates with
and obviously adults. So yeah, so I think again, lack of education, lack of knowledge on the part of the doctors. And I think one of the most prominent doctors was on that case was Dr. Patrick Manning's sister, who was one of the people.
Petronella Malinalin. She's a neonatologist.
She was not a very warm person. She didn't really talk to me. She didn't come up to me. Nothing. So I remember that. And I think hence the reason why I shout out about good health care for Tobago. Because I'm the only person in this panel. There are many of us whose families have you are not satisfied with the way they have died, right? I'm not grieving because that I lost that child. I am a different and a better person for that, and God knows best, and He knows why she had to go, and I'm not sad about that. At the moment and in time, then yes, but I'm not sad. I always have her in memory and always remember when she has a birthday, and I keep that in my thought. But I'm not sad at all. But what I'm going to say is that if our leaders are looking at this program, and the politicians in Tobago, in the House of Assembly, wherever you are, please don't take it as we're interfering, but we're reaching out. Please work with us so we can help to promote life and save life, because we need to grow our population.
We need to grow
our population with all the deaths we are seeing with young babies are dying, young people are dying, you know, middle age and all of that. No, it's not right. And it's not right that people are going to Trinidad for health and not coming back.
Mary has a question here for you.
Yeah.
Or she has a
Well, I
statement.
want to just make a general statement to include that question that was just asked to Joan. Now, the whole
question is for
healthcare
everybody.
system in Tobago need restructuring in order for us to get best practice out of it. We have enough medical health professional outside of Trinidad and Tobago that is willing to go home. We are willing to go home and share our knowledge. We're not coming to take over. We're coming to join with you to help develop a different system that is going to work for every citizen of Trinidad, Tobago, and the Caribbean as a whole.
Hey.
And that is what we want. We don't want Tobagonians to constantly be dying from conditions that is treatable. We don't want them having their legs amputated when it's not necessary. We don't want our parents dying from renal failure when it's not necessary. We don't want attitude, because that is half of the problem with Tobago in the hospital, the attitude of a lot of the staff. We are willing to share. We want to come. I could tell you about 30 nurses within England here that I know from Tobago, and doctors and social workers who are willing to go home, but we do not want to fight the system. We want to go and meet a system that is fit for purpose, that we can join it and continue to develop it. And that is what we want for Tobago. We love Tobago. We want Tobago to have the best, because we think we have the best island in the Caribbean. So we want to have the best of everything.
Amen.
So that is all we want. We want to come. We want to help. We want to help you, because our parents are dying, our cousins are dying, our friends are dying. When you see young people that you went to school with are dying from conditions and you think, what?
Preventable.
In Tobago, people have to fly to Trinidad to have a hip replacement. You have to go to Trinidad to have dialysis because they don't have enough dialysis machines. And saying that, I had a lady friend from Trinidad who bought dialysis machines, and they all have rotted on the port in Trinidad. She bought them and carried them down to donate to Tobago Hospital, because she knew there wasn't any much in Tobago, and they will not clear those things in the port. And she died now, God bless her soul, and every one of them rotten on the port. So these are the things we want to come.
Wow.
But the barriers that is set for us, it's difficult.
Yep.
You educate us, you give
Joan,
us
you
our
have something?
primary school or secondary school education,
Yes.
and you let us out in the world to go and achieve, to come back, to make our country better. We want to. So make it easy for us.
Yep.
Just make it easy for us to come home. We don't like the cold.
So would you like Mr. London to hear this story?
Yes.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Most definitely.
We need to have him on the panel with us, Mama Coco.
Yes. I just want to say on the two occasions that I went to Tobago to I did some training, and the nurses and midwives were I met with some challenges, and those challenges were getting into Tobago. It was about who you knew. But I thought, you know what? I have to persevere. And I want to congratulate the nurses and midwives in the maternity unit at Scarborough General Hospital, because on the second occasion when I went, you know, they actually raised some funds and they bought equipment so that they themselves could conduct their own training, because they recognize that we are here and we cannot validate. We have to revalidate every 3 years. We have to, pay a subscription every year, and we have to show the Nursing and Midwifery Council that we are up to date with within our own work environments. And I'm really proud to say that they have taken this step. They have bought their equipment and they're trying to set up, a center within the hospital where they can start updating their own nurses and midwives, because this is what they need. They need research. Without research, it's like Mary was saying, you know, she went down. You've got insulin from way back donkey years when that they're still using. And new research is coming out every day. New drugs, we're pioneering new drugs. I mean, look at Donald Trump. he's now saying that he's now using the new vaccine to help him fight this corona. So therefore, it's all about research.
He doing that so that people, so that when he ready to
hold you and you.
when he ready to bring it, when he ready to bring it to the people, he will be the one to say, well, I tried it and it works, so it's good enough.
That's right.
And it may not, listen to me, don't even go there
Don't
with
go
this
there.
session tonight.
Don't go there tonight, Lue-Anne.
Lue-Anne, no politics tonight. None.
It's an example, Cora. It's an example of what, we're talking about in terms of research. Research pushes our practice. It influences.
Exactly.
You have to have evidence. You have to have evidence based. You have to prove it. You want medication that has been tried and tested. You want medication that when you take it. Look, as I said, I've been diabetic for 22 years. And I have complications because of the length of time I have had diabetes. But I know people who had had diabetes less than me that has lost limbs. I have never, ever been hospitalized due to complication of my diabetes. Because I have had new drugs going in, going out, changing, swapping all the time. And these are things, and I know because I have friends who work for drug companies who tell me, Mary, these medications are available to Trinidad and Tobago, and it's just not being purchased by the government. Why not?
Generic.
Give your people the best.
Economics, Mary.
They buying the generic, the
Health
cheapest.
economics, that's what it is all about.
And the expired ones going down there too.
Anyone else want to answer this question before I ask for closing statements for tonight and invite people to come back to hear this lovely panel? I invited
One thing I want to say.
Wait a minute. I invited a couple more nurses, and I'm glad to say that Sasha Kane, a Belgarden, I think she's this guy Job that died there. I think that's her uncle or father. Anyway, Sasha Kane she accepted the invitation, so she will be part of my other panel. I will try to minimize, but I think this panel here is good. I think this group here line up very well. You guys think we should keep this group, or we should mix more, or take out Lue-Anne and put Lue-Anne home? She too bright? What? What you guys
Mama Cora, I would love to go home. It is my passion to go back to my country.
Tell them that you went down and you weren't accepted and you took a doctor with you. Give them that story and we close.
Well, I actually, my experience is the first year I went, I took the doctor with me, and we went down on the same flight. I saw him he was sitting in a different part of the aircraft to me. I got to Crown Point.
Somebody making a lot of noise with their stuff. Stay quiet, people. Don't move. Yeah. Go ahead, Lue-Anne.
I got to Crown Point. I saw him in the line. When I got outside, he was nowhere to be found. And you could understand my dismay because this man is coming to a strange country. All he knows is that he had a hotel room at Grafton Hotel. And I spent at least half an hour inquiring if anybody had seen him. So my next step, we didn't have the phones then, because of course we had to check in with TTSC to get the SIM cards and all of that. So I made my way to Grafton. And when I got to Grafton, he was in the waiting area, and I said, "What are you doing here?" He says, "Oh, I was picked up." I said, "Picked up by whom?" He was picked up by the hospital, had arranged for him to be collected and taken to Grafton. And I was quite disappointed.
Stay quiet, people. Stay quiet.
There was absolutely no communication with the panel. The next time I saw him was at the lectures. He was invited out without us. He was taken out. He went to he got a tour of Tobago without us. And this was done by one of the head the head obstetrician at the hospital. And I found it quite disappointing.
Who was the head? Who was the head?
Dr. Wheeler. And I found it quite disappointing. So the second year I went back, he was unable to come with us. And the treatment that we got, I felt quite ashamed. Because everybody, there were two other people that I took a consultant midwife with me, very knowledgeable, who was excited about going to Tobago. And when she stood before that room of midwives and nurses, she commanded the audience. We all put on a great performance. And the way that, the midwives, I can't fault them, but the way we were treated, it was horrible. I was asked if they could tape the lecture, and if I had my way, it wasn't a problem with me, but because I had gone with a panel, I had to consult with them, and they thought that it was not appropriate, because what I felt is that they were going to reuse this information for their own benefits. And, I came back, and I have to express my gratitude to Farley, because when I started this second project, I was in Charlottesville, and I called Mr. Augustine, and it was about 9-10 o'clock the night, and he came and he listened. I spoke to Mr. Watson Duke by phone. We stayed at his brother's property in Scarborough, and they listened. They listened to the struggles that we were going through. And, one of the feedback that I got from the professionals is that they felt quite unwanted. But, I went away feeling, when I got the feedback from the midwives themselves, that they were really happy that we were there, and they were appreciative of the issues that we discussed, that we brought to the table, because we discussed things like domestic violence, which is high on the agenda in Trinidad and Tobago.
At the minute.
Especially in pregnancy.
Did you talk to, did you reach out to Tracy, or she wasn't around?
Tracy wasn't around at that time. She was around the first time, so she knew we were coming the first time. So, we talk about the toxic trio. The toxic trio is mental health, which is high on the agenda in Trinidad and Tobago, domestic violence, and substance misuse. And now that we've got COVID, we are seeing...
Please, we want to get this straight, because, sometimes you have to talk and be scared straight.
Yeah.
Who was the health minister at the time?
It was the lady that just took over before Tracy.
Agatha Carrington.
Agatha Carrington.
How was it with her?
Yeah, I went up to the area where she worked. I made an appointment. I went with my husband and my children, and I sat for over 2 hours. And when I got there, I was told that she had a meeting, and that the proposal that I have, I should give it to her secretary. I refused, because I think I had put too much work. I did. I think I refused, because I think that I had put too much work into it. And the challenges that I had was the fact that, at the time that I was doing the first training, there was also another training going on in Trinidad at the Hyatt. The midwives were paying $900 to go down to this training day. And I was only asking for $200 or $250. And that $250 was to help with support with food. I raised funds from here, and I really thank the people of the United Kingdom. I would say my sister, Mary, who came to support, and all the professionals who supported the venture when I came to them and says, look, I didn't have a name for the project at the moment. All I said is giving back to the nations. And when I talked about giving back to the nations, I had to change it, because some of the other individuals that came on board, I had a very good friend. She's a diabetic midwife specialist. She's from Nigeria. And when she came to Tobago, she said to me, the first time she came, she said to me, she says, Lue-Anne, you don't have problems in Tobago. We know what our problems are, but what she sees in Nigeria is more complicated than what we are experiencing in Tobago. And then when I took the consultant midwife the second time, she said to me, she says, I'm looking for the poverty. She's come from Sierra Leone. And she says, I'm looking for the poverty in Tobago, and there's none. I'm looking for the people carrying the things on their head. There is none. But we know the challenges that we face in Tobago. And we know that as a collective, we want to get rid of those challenges. We are not the enemies. We are begging. We are getting older. You know, I sit every day and I think I'm going to be 51 this year. And I'm thinking,
Wow.
if I had started this earlier, you know, maybe I could enact some change. I mean, I take my children to Tobago almost every year. And, you know, I talk to them about, you know, the system in Tobago. They ask about my childhood upbringing. What would I want to do in Tobago? And it was really sad for my son to tell me, Mom, there's nothing in Tobago for me. What am I going back for? And it's so sad because I will want to know that if my children are trained out here, I will want to say to them, look, your mother was born and bred in Tobago. I would want to give something back.
Where is your father from? Tell the people.
Tobago.
My husband is from Charlottesville. He's very passionate about Tobago. I mean, and we all want to go back. We all want to go back. And it's not that we want to go back because Tobago has got something to give us. We are here. It's COVID time.
Give back.
Those of us who are not working, the government will look after us. And there's people in Tobago that cannot, you know, are struggling for finances. So we are all right here. We're not perfect. We're not well off. But if we don't work, we'll be looked after. But we're thinking about the people in Tobago, the challenges that they're facing. People are not getting grants. People, you know, the people can't eat. And, you know, many people will sit and think, you know, people are lying. But they're not. Because as a professional, I have been out in the COVID. And my husband has been self-isolating because he's diabetic. And I've been leaving home and I've been taking food to families. I'm picking up and dropping off food to families because people are telling me that they're hungry. Whoa. And as I said, you know, we are here. We are living in a country where people like I was going to a school and all I've got to do is to go in with my box and I'm packing boxes of food to take to these families. And I'm looking at Tobago and there's people in Tobago that people are getting hampers. And the people that are getting that need the hampers are not getting the hampers. And we need to look into our hearts.
Boom.
Right? We need to look into our hearts. And we need to, you know, when I decided to become a nurse, one of the things that they asked me, what are the prerequisites that makes a good nurse? And the first thing that came to me was empathy.
Empathy.
Empathy means you have to walk in somebody else's shoes. What happens if that were me? Think about, you know, am I going to sit and eat and I don't give? I remember growing up, I was never hungry because my house was always full. And if my father went down the road and he didn't have money to buy a pig, they will give him that pig and says, Mr. Ken, when you've sold the meat, money, you can pay me. So, you know what, as individuals, we have to remember, let's go back to the church. We talk about the heritage. The heritage is not putting on clothes and dancing.
True.
About looking back at the culture, looking back at the values our parents demonstrated. You know, you could go down to somebody's yard and you don't have something to eat and you get a banana, you could get some dashi bush. You know what I mean? Let's go back to that kindness that, you know, was instilled in us. I think we've gone away from that culture. We've become selfish. We've become self-centered.
Hey, don't give all tonight. You're coming back. You're coming back. Joan want to say something. Joan want to say something.
I am about 45 minutes from my house drive, so I might have to cut off. I don't know how long
Joan,
we have.
Joan, we don't have long. This is closing statement.
Right.
Give your closing statement, and Joan, can you leave us in peace? Amen.
Well, my closing statement is that I'm hoping that when we come back, you know, we'll have more information about our Tobago, the peeps in Tobago, how things going. We need to find out more about the healthcare system over there and what they're doing for the young people with the cervical cancer, because it seems as though everything has just died down and it's a COVID takeover, but now they're having more sex because they are locked down in the houses and all that. So we need school, they're home on the computer, they're going by their boyfriend, sneaking in the corner and going around the corner. We need to know what they're doing for the children.
Hey, Mama Nurse, Mama Nurse, Mama Nurse. Listen to me, Joan. Joan, you do a lot of charity work, and
Yes,
you go
I
to
do.
Trinidad.
I am so
You-
missing home. I think you're breaking up. I'm losing you. Are you there,
Hello?
Coco?
We hearing you.
Okay.
Yes,
I
go
didn't hear
ahead,
Mama
Joan.
Coco. No, I
No-
was through. I thought you were saying something.
Yes, I was saying something. Are you hearing me?
I didn't hear you. I didn't hear what you
No,
said.
I'm saying that you usually go to Tobago every year. You
Every
go
year,
with yes,
last year I went home 9 times.
yes.
I
No, I
went home
mean
9 times
no.
last
I was
year.
speaking about charity,
Oh,
and you go with the bubbles. Can you tell us about that?
yes. Okay. Well, the Bovell Cancer and Diabetes Foundation, it was formed by the family and is really run with the family and volunteers. We can't do it without the volunteers. So every year, annually, in November, we go home and we do a grand at the complex. It's that complex next to the fire station there. We set up our
Sid
tents
Gray,
there and we
Sid Gray,
do.
Sid Gray,
That's the name of it. Yeah.
Sid Gray
Okay.
Complex, Roxborough.
So great. Okay, so we usually there like the first week, the first Friday in November, and it's like people from all over Tobago come up there for their testing. We have eye testing, where we added on gynecology was the one we were going to add on this year. We have the stroke and diabetes. I do the stroke, and I do like cervical cancer. I have that booth. And we have other people like with the diabetes group. We have the food nutrition group. I mean, different groups you can think about. And we target the children because the kids can explain to their parents. So we really target the schools. They have the maxi taxis, bring the schools from Charlottesville around Lansome, come around the Mason Hall, all over Tobago. The children come, the family, the schools are invited along with the teachers. So I think we are 9 years into it now, 9 years old. And my other group is Caribbean medical providers practicing abroad. We go to different Caribbean countries.
Yes.
Well, we skipped this year. Last year we skipped because of the unrest in Venezuela.
Yes.
But every year we go there. And we go to a different Caribbean island, and we go out in the rural areas, and we actually give back, have the same setup to do blood pressure and blood sugars and all that stuff.
So Joan, you give out monies to any schools or any foundations in Tobago?
No, I just the people who I volunteer for, the groups that I volunteer.
No, you for your daughter.
I just give it to the organizations that I volunteer with. I haven't given any specific, I just give it to the organization like the Roxborough Youth Club.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
I give a scholarship to them every year, and their grant time to is November. The Bovell Cancer and Diabetes, National Black Nurses Association,
wow,
Caribbean Medical Providers Practicing Abroad, and it's just a little of something, but it's worth it.
Thank
and
you.
I feel good about it.
Well, hallelujah. Yes, you should. You are a deep part of charity. When we come back next time, you're going to speak about the Black Nurses Association, where you travel America. You go a lot of places, yeah? You came all to Las Vegas.
Yes, absolutely.
So when you come
different
next
states,
time.
Different states in the United States. Yeah.
So this, ladies and gentlemen, this is our sister Joan Phillips, Pierre, nurse supervisor for a 345 plus beds in a hospital. Yes, she's in charge. She's in charge at night. Everyone that work at night, she has to be their supervisor. So peace from God our Father, and may Jehovah God continue to walk and talk with you, Sister Joan. As you leave,
thank you.
Now Mary will give her closing statement.
Okay.
Thank you, Joan.
Thank you very much. And see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
bye.
Joan.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Right. Now, my closing statement is about my passion for diabetes and wanting to go back to Tobago and do something with it. I decided that 55 is the age I want to retire, so I have already cut down on my work. And I'm going to do my master's in diabetes started in January. I would love to go home and work from Crown Point to Charlottesville, educating people, teaching people about diabetes, how to manage their bad diabetes. So that's my passion, and that's my hope that I will be able to accomplish that. I also try every time I send a barrel home, I try to put some monitors in it and stuff like that to give out to people to help monitor their blood sugars, because that's another thing that is lacking. The cost of these things are so high at home, the strips. The government, I feel, should the people who are diabetics that are insulin dependent should be given free monitors, and so that they can go, and free strips, so that they will be able to monitor better and get better control of their diabetes. So I hope the powers that be is listening, and I hope that I don't get any great challenges when I come to give back to my people.
Thank you so much, but I want to just reinforce something that you just said. I don't know if it's reinforced or to weaken, but then I'm just going to say it. We can't just be sitting back and blaming government for not giving them testers and to buy the strip, the mask clothes, and the mask clothes more expensive than a pack of strip. Yes, going down to Pigeon Point every night to wine and dine and cheat on the husband or the wife is more costly than buying a chip. Than buying a strip or a tester, paying the tithes and offering every month, paying all that money to church, and church can't be sharing out strips. I think churches should start to share strips for free to their members. You know what I'm saying? But because, you know, the meaning of tithes and offering is to press down, is to overflow. And if you have members in your church, diabetic, and they're suffering from diabetes, some kind of program should be started in churches. Let the church say amen. Let them start to distribute testing machines and strips per month. And for those who cannot buy the insulin, some kind of fund. Churches have to start to be like a giving, a hospital, a place where people can restore and get what they need without. The Bible said, come buy wine, money, corn. Without money, come. And if they're going to church, and you are to be a church member like most of my nephews, that every time I go down, I have to make sure I could tell them, you're not taking your insulin. I have to share my metformin. Because all they're selling in Tobago is normal metformin. The X, the XL, nobody knows about it.
About the slow release,
the slow release, which is so important. I didn't know, thanks to my daughter, the extended release. They don't know about it. When I tell my nephews and them who are diabetics, they ask me, Tanti, that is what? And when I share it with them, trust me, everybody, pain in the arm stop, neuropathy gone. They ain't getting pain in the hip, the toe, the neck, the teeth. People, listen to me. What I didn't know, I am not going to blame myself. And I am telling everybody, a lot of things that we claim in expensive in Trinidad. Let me tell people, you know, insulin cheaper in Trinidad than in New York.
That's right.
When I convert and I watch it, to buy a tester to test your stuff that nobody uses and nobody have home, trust me, it's cheaper in Tobago than in America. Lots of things that we just claim expensive home. If we buy the tester and blood pressure machine, it's cheaper down there than here. Thank you, my love, my dear Mary. Mary Dates. Yes. Hallelujah, this hour. So let us have a closing statement from Stephanie. Stephanie, let's do this. We are going to close. We're not going to go to 3 hours. So see what we can do here now with your closing statement. You guys are going to be back.
Okay, I have retired at age 51. I've been trying to go home since then. I'm now 60 years old. I've recognized that prevention is better than cure. So I am currently finishing my master's in public health. I'm a generalist because I'm a nurse, midwife, health visitor, did intensive care and all of that. So I feel that a lot of emphasis should be placed on health promotion, health education in a meaningful way, because it could save us a lot of hospital admissions. So that's my closing statement. And I am always willing to serve. I'm able. I do a lot of charity work in domestic violence and, you know, working with literacy and numeracy, because education does not mean academic achievement.
No.
Because there are people who are very educated but have health illiteracy. So it has to be addressed. So not because you are you have a high rank in society means that you know about your health and you could take care of yourselves. Some women don't even know how to wipe themselves properly. So we need to start from basics and
when you say wipe themselves, get to the point.
From front to back.
They don't know how to clean themselves after
they don't know
going
how to
to
clean
the bathroom.
Themselves when they go to the toilets.
Nice.
Basic way of wiping themselves from front to back, they're unaware. So some of them infect themselves. And if they're prone to hypertension, to diabetes, they get lots of vaginal thrush and other bacterial infections. Some people, there is period poverty. They can't afford pads. So these things need to be addressed because pads are very expensive home.
I'm not going to use any word as expensive again. Trinidadians, they spend their money for what they want. I'm talking today.
Well,
you hear me? Trinidadians have money. Trinidadians, they have their money. Why when it's time to play mass, nobody doesn't say that it's expensive and don't play mass? Yeah?
Okay.
Why when you're going to church and you're suffering, you're hungry, you ain't cooking good food for your man or your husband to keep him good. You ain't cleaning yourself so that you can say that your vagina smell right or he know how to clean his testicles. Yeah? We making sure that we pay our tithes and offering. Come on now. We got to get real and stop blaming the government for things that we are in control of.
Right.
Yes.
If we can find money to do certain things, we can find money.
People need to understand the importance of using pads instead of toilet paper. So they need to get their priorities right and make informed choices about their health.
Thank you so much.
So
we will be back, Stephanie. Stephanie, your closing statement, it's well accepted, and you did a great job as usual. But I just had to say, from now on, the Spirit is telling me, let us stop saying things expensive.
Okay.
When they want to leave Trinidad and come America for Labor Day, tickets expensive. But they're coming.
Word.
When they want to buy an iPhone, it's expensive. But they're still buying.
Take it out on HP, Mama Coco.
Yes, Shabba. When they want to go on a cruise,
they go to court and take it out on HP.
You understand me?
Never heard of that in my life.
When they're gone and they're ready for a harvest, they're keeping the harvest. The child get a birthday. That child 1 year old, 2 years old, and they want to keep big party. Buying liquor and everything for that child party. Things not that expensive. We have to pray that our God Jehovah help people to learn how to prioritize and spend for the things that we need.
Word, Mama Coco, word.
We're gonna go to my cousin Joan and leave in Lue-Anne for last.
Well, it was such an informative panel tonight. You know, I think I've said enough already. I just hope that what we were able to discuss here, it should reach across to the right people and it will have some sort of impact, which can have a chain reaction, set a chain reaction moving forward with the development of healthcare in Tobago and especially and Trinidad by extension.